Because right outside Denver, Colorado, in what seems like a totally normal little suburb, something really bizarre started happening.
Yeah, we're talking about kids here. Not just one or two, but dozens. Across different families, all saying they have these, well, daily chats with a figure they call Grandpa Wicks.
A spectral figure, basically, like a ghost.
Exactly. And what's immediately kind of striking is just the number of kids and how consistent their stories are. It feels like more than just, an imaginary friend phase.
Right, because it affects so many households in one area. Suggests something bigger is going on.
And it apparently started out quite innocently. Kids just talking about this friendly old guy they'd see around.
On porches, in the park, sometimes even in their houses.
Yeah, telling them stories, laughing, playing games. Seems harmless enough, right?
Until you get to the really creepy part.
Hmm.
This Grandpa Wicks, he died over 50 years ago.
And the parents, naturally, their first reaction is predictable.
Oh, yeah, totally. Kids have wild imaginations, or maybe they cooked up the story together. Dismissal.
You look for the rational explanation first. That's just human nature.
But then things got undeniably strange. There's this one story about a mother. She overhears her 5-year-old daughter just chatting away in her room. So she asks, who are you talking to, sweetie? And the little girl just calmly says, Grandpa Wicks was telling her about the day he died.
Okay, wow.
And then this 5-year-old proceeds to describe how a man named Franklin Wicks choked on his own blood back in 1971.
1971, and choked on blood. That's specific.
Extremely specific. And this is the key part. There was absolutely no logical way for this kid to know that detail. It wasn't some local ghost story everyone knew. She hadn't overheard adults talking about it. It wasn't in some book she read. Impossible.
That detail, the cause, and the year of death, that really is the moment this whole thing shifts, isn't it? Shared fantasies? Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
But specific, verifiable info from the past that the kids couldn't possibly access, that forces you to consider, well, other possibilities.
No matter how improbable they seem. Exactly. And it wasn't just the stories. Soon after these accounts started surfacing, the families began experiencing, well, classic spooky stuff, for lack of a better term.
Like what?
Lights flickering like crazy, but only when someone said the name Wicks.
Seriously? That's specific.
Apparently. And family photos getting messed with, faces scratched out in pictures. Or even weirder, an old man suddenly appearing in the background of photos where he definitely wasn't there when the picture was taken.
Okay, that moves it beyond just what the kids are saying. Now you've got physical stuff happening, tangible weirdness.
Right. And it didn't stop there. It got worse. Family pets, dogs, and cats suddenly refusing to go into certain rooms, just flat out avoiding them.
Animals are often said to be sensitive to things.
And doors unlocking by themselves during the night. Then there's this one really disturbing story about a father. He was apparently really angry, denying his son's claims about Grandpa Wicks, yelling about it. And he supposedly gets physically thrown across the room, ends up with a dislocated shoulder.
Whoa, thrown.
That's the story. And at the exact same moment he hit the ground, the power goes out in the entire house.
Okay, the physical altercation is intense.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's an unverified account. We have to say that. But the power outage happening at the exact same time, that does sort of lend it a bit more weight, doesn't it? Suggests a possible link between his denial and something external.
Definitely. So with all this stuff going on, getting more frequent, more intense, it's not really a surprise that paranormal investigators started showing up, is it?
No, you'd expect that. Multiple teams apparently came to this suburb trying to figure out what on earth was happening.
Yeah, they descended on the place. And it's interesting what they found, or rather what they didn't find consistently.
Right. So no team ever managed to get like a clear photo or video of this Grandpa Wicks figure. Not one.
But they did report other stuff often linked to hauntings, right?
Yeah, some teams reported things like really specific cold spots in the houses, areas where the temperature just plummeted for no reason, and unexplained spikes on EMF meters, electromagnetic fields. Now, the link between EMF and ghosts is, well, debatable, but it can suggest weird energy fluctuations.
Well, there's that audio recording, too.
Yes, the EVP, potentially. Electronic voice phenomena, where one team supposedly captured a voice, really faint, saying something like, "Leave them alone, they're mine."
Chilling. If it's real, that's definitely chilling. But like you said, no pictures. Every time they tried to take a photo of where the kid said he was or where phenomena were happening.
Distorted images, blank exposures, cameras just deciding to stop working altogether.
It's almost like something was actively stopping them from getting proof.
Which, leads us right into the Spectre Line incident.
Ah, yes. Spectre Line. They were a pretty well-known group, right?
Yeah.
Respected in those circles.
They were, and they claimed to have captured something pretty significant. Thermal footage.
Thermal detects heat signatures, so...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they allegedly recorded footage showing a figure, an adult-sized heat signature, holding a child's hand. This could have been huge.
Potentially the breakthrough, the concrete evidence everyone was looking for.
It could have been.
Yeah.
But the footage never saw the light of day.
What happened?
Well, the story goes that a major TV network stepped in. A network known for being, let's say, very skeptical about the paranormal. They actively debunk these kinds of claims.
Okay.
And this network reportedly paid Spectre Line a chunk of money, an undisclosed amount. And just like that, the footage vanished. Poof.
So the evidence just disappeared. What did the network say?
Their official line was something like, "Our investigation found nothing out of the ordinary." Standard non-statement.
Wow. So a network known for debunking pays to make potential evidence go away. That smells fishy, doesn't it?
It absolutely fuels the suspicion, right? Why suppress it unless there was actually something on that footage they didn't want people to see, even if it wasn't conclusive proof of a ghost? It definitely adds this layer of, I don't know, paranoia or conspiracy around the whole thing.
Totally. And it was around this time, with all the weirdness and the suppressed evidence, that things in the neighborhood started changing too. Some families just packed up and left, couldn't deal with it anymore.
Understandable. Others trying to rationalize it, maybe thinking it was mass hysteria or something.
Until their own kids, who hadn't been part of the initial group, suddenly started drawing pictures.
And the pictures were disturbingly similar, weren't they?
Incredibly similar. Kids in different houses, supposedly not comparing notes, all drawing the same creepy old man.
With those specific features. The weird twisted smile, one clouded eye, the saggy suspenders.
Yeah. And sometimes the drawings were even creepier, showing him like underground beneath the house or watching from inside the walls. Really unsettling stuff.
That consistency in the drawings, independent drawings, that's hard to explain away as just kids copying each other. It points back to some kind of shared experience.
Definitely. And then there was the babysitter incident. This poor woman.
Right, she apparently had no idea about any of the local Grandpa Wicks stories, totally unaware.
And she calls 911 late one night. Freaked out!
Because she heard what sounded like an old man whispering over the baby monitor, whispering to the child.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And apparently the police officers who responded even noted how cold the room felt, an inexplicable temperature drop again.
And they found something else, didn't they? Something on the wall.
Yes, carved into the plasterboard, a message. They're not yours to teach.
They're not yours to teach. Okay, that crosses a line. That sounds possessive. Threatening, almost.
Absolutely. It introduces this really sinister, possessive element. Understandably, the babysitter quit immediately, never came back.
I wouldn't either. And the family she worked for.
They moved out not long after that happened.
So, fast forward. Here we are, roughly 10 years since this all supposedly started. And the weirdest part...
It hasn't stopped.
It hasn't stopped. Kids in that same suburb still talk about Grandpa Wicks. They still interact with him. Some even say he, walks them home from school.
But, and this is crucial, it's been the one constant across the entire decade. No adult has ever actually laid eyes on him. Not one.
Never a direct sighting, just the edges of it. Shadows moving in their peripheral vision, maybe hearing faint whispers or murmurs they can't quite make out.
That general, pervasive, creepy feeling of being watched. But never, ever seeing Grandpa Wicks face to face. Only the kids.
So you're left with this decade-long phenomenon. Dozens of kids, consistent descriptions of this figure, Grandpa Wicks with his weird smile and cloudy eye.
Physical events happening, lights, photos, doors, the alleged assault, the cold spots, the EMF readings, the audio clip.
Investigations that either find nothing concrete or get potentially shut down.
And this figure who, despite the creaky message and the possessiveness, doesn't seem to actually harm the children directly.
Right. That's maybe the most baffling part.
Right.
He doesn't seem malicious, not in a physically harmful way towards the kids anyway. But what does he want?
What does "they're not yours to teach" really mean? What does he mean by wanting to keep them his way? His motivation is completely unknown.
It just leaves you hanging, doesn't it? It forces you to ask some pretty big questions, like what on earth could explain something so widespread, so consistent, but completely invisible to adults?
And maybe the bigger question, If kids are genuinely experiencing something real that adults simply can't perceive, well, what does that say about our own understanding of reality? What else might be out there that we're just missing?
Yeah, definitely gives you something to think about. A lot to think about.